Hi everyone, it is Dani'i and welcome to this evening update. I trust and hope that you have been enjoying your Saturday, and we're going to be taking a look at Tammy. So some areas have experienced those tropical storm conditions. Maybe they're ongoing for you. There has been some flooding taking place as well. Some areas are yet to feel any significant impacts, and that may change as we head into tonight and into early tomorrow. So we'll be looking at the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Also, we'll be taking a look at some model data because as we head to the latter part of October and into November, most of the main models, the four I always use in my updates, they're all showing that we could see potentially more than one system try to form as we head to the end of October and even into early November as well. So we'll be looking at that. But of course, we're kickstarting things looking at the now. So going on to this satellite imagery, and here you can see that there's quite a bit of activity out there in the main development region. That big mess of all those showers and thunderstorms quite disorganized. Eventually, that should make more of a northwestward track. And then there is Tammy. So Tammy is not producing a whole lot of activity on its western side, which is the reason many islands are currently spared. However, that luck may not last for many of the different areas. We'll go on to that in a moment. But across parts of northern South America, even going to Central America, we're seeing all those white dots indicating lightning strikes. So there has been some thunderstorm activity, that daytime heating contributing to what we're seeing. So what happens is that as the sun heats the surface of the earth, warm air is not very dense, so it rises into the atmosphere, but as it rises, it encounters cooler temperatures because the further up we ascend, the more temperatures decrease. That is when condensation happens, and we get cloud formation and eventually all this activity that we're seeing on these satellites. Let's zoom into the Caribbean, and here we can see that there's an area of that disorganized activity in the Southwest Caribbean. So there's that disturbance, which is given a low 20% chance of formation. So it is going to be bringing a lot of heavy rainfall, which has likely already begun for some areas in Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. So regardless of development, we could see flooding rains being produced by the system. And by the way, the formation chance through the next 2 days or 48 hours has slightly increased up to 20%. It was at 10%, so now it's 20% through both 7 and 2 days, and it doesn't have much time left over water, so that is why the chance is so low right now. But we could still see again those impacts, particularly in terms of the heavy rainfall across those portions of Central America. As we head to other areas, the Yucatan headed over to Belize, we're not seeing where a whole lot is happening. The atmosphere is kind of more stable in the area right now, so not seeing too much. But across some spots in eastern Cuba, even headed to Jamaica near the Cayman Islands, and over into parts of the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islands, especially earlier today, and Hispaniola especially, we see a lot of activity in these areas. Earlier for the ABC Islands, and even up to now, there has been some periods of rainfall, even those thunderstorms. I know you guys have been longing for them, and I trust and hope that you have been enjoying them. So you can let me know in the comments what's been happening for you. As we head to Puerto Rico, go into the vicinity of the Virgin Islands, all that activity induced by Tammy affecting the area with some rainfall, maybe some intermittent showers and thunderstorms here and there. Similar story for Trinidad, and that will likely be the case for the Lesser Antilles as we're going to be heading through the rest of today and into tomorrow. So not everywhere is going to be experiencing all that heavy rainfall, but for some areas that could be the case. And then we've got the warning areas. Let's head on to the latest cone forecast this evening, and here we can see that Tammy is making more of a north-northwestward track now at 10 miles per hour. So it is moving a little bit faster compared to earlier. Nonetheless, not rapidly making its way out. We still see the Leeward Islands, majority of the Leeward Islands under that hurricane warning, and even a hurricane watch in effect for Ceiba and St. Eustatius. Everywhere else, going from Anguilla, going to St. Martin, St. Barthélemy, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Antigua and Barbuda under that hurricane warning, and then a tropical storm watch in effect for the British Virgin Islands. As of right now, Tammy is sustaining maximum winds up to 85 miles per hour, and gusts are even higher than that, and we could see some additional strengthening of it, but eventually it should weaken as it encounters more shear, so conditions will get more and more unfavorable. But notice how the track has evolved through today. So we're seeing it kind of straightening up here, so there is some uncertainty with what happens to it next. west, and the National Hurricane Center has been favoring more of a northward track of the system, maybe closer to Bermuda. So if I was in Bermuda, I would definitely be keeping a close watch on the system, but any impacts shouldn't be until the latter part of next week. Some models, though, want to take the system off to the west, to the vicinity of the Bahamas, but we'll have to wait and see for that. We'll be looking at the model track guidance and also the intensity guidance in a moment. But here we have this surface wind field estimate for Hurricane Tammy. There's that labeling right there. We can see on this map that black broken line is representative of the past track of the hurricane. So we can see it making that westward track, then moving up to the northwest, and now paralleling the islands. So that center thus far has remained just offshore. So much of the rainfall activity has remained to the east of that center, and that center is already offshore. So many areas, thankfully, did not experience a whole lot of flooding today, especially those areas that no longer are under those watches or warnings. But areas such as Barbados, which wasn't even under a watch, experienced some flooding. I have seen the videos, I've seen photos as well, and I appreciate you guys sharing what's happening for your area. So if you have any videos or photos you'd like to send, you can do that over on my Instagram, other girl Dani'i. You can send them to me in a DM, or if you're talking about conditions in your area on a whole, you can always leave that down in the comments. So for Barbados, there was some flooding earlier today. Hopefully most of that water has receded, but again, a lot of the rainfall associated with the main system is offshore, but there have been those gusty winds likely resulting in a bit of coastal flooding, those large waves crashing ashore, likely bringing along with it some coastal flooding. So that has likely happened for some areas, especially over in the eastern side of Guadeloupe. And then as we're going to be heading into tonight, one area in particular that I think will see a lot of heavy rainfall is Barbuda. Of course, other areas under that hurricane warning, such as Antigua, Anguilla, and St. Martin, St. Bartholomew, could experience a lot of that heavy rainfall, even going to St. Kitts and Nevis and Montserrat, Saba, and St. Eustatius. But at the same time, for Barbuda, based on what I'm seeing models showing, there could be a lot of heavy rainfall tonight headed into the early morning hours of tomorrow. So hopefully persons have heeded those hurricane warnings, as I emphasized yesterday. It's better to be prepared and nothing happens than to not be prepared and the worst thing happens. So that is potentially on the horizon for you guys. And then those tropical storm conditions, those tropical storm force winds between 39 and 74 miles per hour are possible across the British Virgin Islands as we head into tomorrow. But again, a lot of the activities on the eastern side of Tammy. If we were talking about a completely symmetrical hurricane, then a lot would be happening right now. Many islands would be pounded by a lot of heavy rainfall. So thankfully, the worst of it remains offshore. And so now let's quickly go on to the model guidance. So first we're taking a look at the track guidance, and there we can see it. So models take the system all over the place here, some going off to the west, and we see decent consistency for the short term, but then they go off in all directions, as we can see here. Even the ensembles are going all over the place as well. So there is a lot of uncertainty as it relates to what exactly Tammy will do. So we'll definitely have to watch it as we head into the early part of this week. And then of course it could strengthen a bit, but I'm not expecting a major hurricane, although some models want to show that, but I think it will remain in Cat 1 territory. If it's lucky enough to try to get itself together very quickly or quickly strengthen, then we could see it potentially make it to a weak Cat 2 hurricane. So we'll definitely have to watch for that, guys, but that is what the guidance charts are showing. And so now we want to go ahead and quickly take a look at some model data in terms of what we could see happen for the latter of the month. But firstly, I want to bring your attention to the sea surface temperature anomaly map. This is the entire North Atlantic, and in those areas of oranges and reds, that is where those above average temperatures are found. The whites indicate that things are pretty much normal or average, and then the blues indicate below average temperatures. So with all those fronts coming out of the US, that's helping to cool down the surface waters, especially offshore of the southeastern states and also the Gulf Coast states. But for much of the Atlantic, we can see that it is still very warm out there. Even go into the sea surface temperature map, temperatures up to 30, 31 degrees, especially across the Caribbean and just outside the vicinity of the Lesser Antilles. So on average, tropical cyclones would require around 26.5 degrees Celsius as what would be considered conducive for development, for fueling it. And we see that we've got those temperatures way ahead. And of course, as we know, that isn't the only factor that contributes to development. But point being, there are above average temperatures, and I think that we could definitely see maybe around 1 to 3 more named storms before the official end of the hurricane season. Let's go ahead ahead and see what models have to show. Now, as for that Caribbean system, we may see it try to get itself together, but as I said earlier, regardless, it is going to be producing a lot of heavy rainfall for the southern Central American countries, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. Now, we're going pretty far out here with GFS. This is as we head into November, the 1st of November. So Wednesday, November 1st, we could see another area of low pressure try to form in the Caribbean. There we're seeing that on this map here. That L represents that low pressure area. And then it is loitering around the vicinity of the Central American territories, likely increasing all that moisture. And also, this is as we head out to Monday, the 6th of the month. There we can see that next system trying to form right there, interestingly. So that is going to be something to watch out for. So going on to Euro, and as we head out, this is going to next Friday, the 27th of October. We can see that Euro is also showing a low pressure area forming in the Caribbean, and once conditions are conducive, we will see development. And then that right there is actually Tammy. So Euro expects that it will be loitering around the vicinity of the northern, just north of the northeastern islands of the Caribbean. We'll have to wait and see for that. But then as we head out into Monday, that low pressure area in the Caribbean drifting up to the vicinity of the Yucatan, not seeing anything too defined there. And then eventually as we head to Tuesday the 31st, we see yet another low pressure area forming, this time in the eastern Caribbean, and we see all those green shadings indicating that moisture. Now as we head out with the Canadian model, the Canadian is also showing that we could see something or some things try to form before the end of the month. This is as we head out to Monday the 30th. We see that first low pressure area making its way in and over and into the vicinity of Hispaniola and Cuba. That would eventually cross into the Bahamas, and then another one following behind, trying to develop maybe as a tropical depression or storm at the time. Finally, the Icon model. So this is as we head out to Sunday the 29th, and Icon, interestingly, is showing that we'll see Tammy try to make its way into the vicinity of the Bahamas and Florida, all depending on how those high pressure areas reinforce themselves out there. So very interesting to see. There are a lot of possibilities on the table right now, and this is definitely one to watch. But as for the Caribbean, at the time we're seeing an area of low pressure forming and seeing all that moisture out there making its way in, coming from the main development regions. So the Caribbean is an area to watch as we're going to be heading throughout the rest of the season. As a matter of fact, go into this map here, head into the month of October. This is where we typically see development coming from the South Caribbean, and even those late season waves move into the Caribbean and trying to develop. And also as we head into November, again, the South Caribbean is that area to watch for development. There isn't a whole lot of development in November under normal circumstances, but we could still see some activity throughout the month. We'll definitely have to keep our eyes on what's happening. So I'm here to keep you guys posted, as you know, and that is what I wanted to share with you in this update. I know it has been quite lengthy, but I hope you found it to be quite informative. However, if you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments. I'll respond to you once I can. And you can also share your thoughts there, and remember to always be weatherwise.